let's talk about writing a romance novel like one of these a lot faster, particularly if you're somebody that doesn't really like to plot. I'm not somebody that really likes to fill out a whole plot chart. The whole idea of charts and lists and all of that just makes me feel like it's homework. Now, some people do love outlines and plot charts and all of those things. I personally do not. I would rather kind of look at my characters and say, okay, what's the worst possible thing that can happen to them? And then make that happen. And that gives me the basis of my plot. When you're writing a romance, you've got a whole lot of factors going on here. You've got the external plot, which is the physical, tangible plot, the thing that the character needs to get or achieve. And then you've got the internal plot, which is their emotional issues. And then you've got the romance. So you're going to have to blend all three of these plot lines together. And that can be really hard to do. That's part of why I did the masterclass on scenes, where I analyzed a scene from this particular book here, From There to Back Again. And I also have a video where I analyzed the very first chapter, every word in the very first chapter, so you know why it's there and how it interacts with the plot. So great. You're thinking, that's a lot to juggle. How do I make it easier? Let's start with things changing for the character. That, for me, is the catalyst. Some people call it the inciting incident. Some people call it where the trouble starts. I call it the catalyst because a catalyst kicks off some kind of a chain reaction. And when a character moves somewhere or has something happen to them or makes a big decision, then they have had a catalyst that sets off a chain reaction in their life. For Olivia, and From There to Back Again, the catalyst for her is inheriting her late biological mother's house. That sets off an entire chain reaction of her uprooting her life and starting over. So if you can write down, what is the thing that kicks off my character's story, that forces them off the couch and into some kind of action where they're going to go after something that the reader's going to root for them to achieve. That's what you want. That's the catalyst. Then, because it's a romance novel, you have to bring the hero and heroine together. And so you have what's called a meet cute. That is when they meet. It doesn't have to be cute. My meet cute in From There to Back Again is a little bit of an argument because he's not happy that she's on his side of the yard. So that doesn't necessarily have to happen and be all lovey-dovey. And in fact, you don't want it to be lovey-dovey, because if the characters fall in love too quickly, your book is over. So you want to have them somehow interact. And this is the key to doing it without having to make a bunch of plots and outlines and all of that. When these characters interact, you want to look at what is the impact on my character and what is the impact on their goal. So your character has some kind of thing that they want to achieve before the end of the book. For Olivia, it was moving to Florida and finding out about her biological mother and why her biological mother was never in her life. That is her goal. That, by the way, has absolutely nothing to do with love. A romance novel is never, ever, ever about the character really wanting to fall in love, because people have lives, and you want to keep that in mind as you're writing your book, that characters have other things going on, and they should, because if your entire life is all about falling in love, then that doesn't bode too well for the future. You need to have a career. You need to have a 401k. You need to have a mortgage, all of these kinds of things to, live life outside of falling in love. So her goal is not to fall in love. It is to find out information about her biological mother. And that catalyst of inheriting the house sets off that chain reaction for her. When she meets the hero, the impact on that is that he lives right next door and he is going to become trouble for her to try to get everything done that she needs to get done to get these answers. He is essentially the monkey wrench in her plans. And that's what the love story really is in a romance novel. It is a monkey wrench in the character's goal, motivation, and conflict. And I always forget to say this, so I'm putting it here in the middle. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video and share it with other writers, because sharing is caring and everybody wants to read more great books. So the more writers that learn how to write great books, the more great books exist. As you have other things happen in the romance novel and the romance begins to progress, the characters have their first kiss, for instance, you want to take a step back and you want to say, what is the impact on my character here? If you want to delve deeper into writing a romance specifically, I encourage you to check out my course, and there's an extra 10% off with code YouTube. How does this make them anxious or insecure or awaken some old demons inside that they've been dealing with. Because everybody knows that a relationship does that. It kind of kicks those fears of abandonment and other issues to the top when we start getting involved with somebody. Your character is going to be no different. And then you want to ask, how does getting physical with this person impact their external plot? So the last thing they want to do, remember, is fall in love. So kissing somebody really takes that to another level, and that has an impact on what they're going after and doing. So basically, the question I want you to ask all the time is, what happened? And what was the impact? What was the impact externally, meaning on the actions that they are taking, and internally, meaning on the emotions that they are feeling? If you can just put at the top of every one of the pages that you write, what was the impact of this action, this moment, and you can start figuring that out, you can layer in a lot more emotion in your book, because everything in a novel, everything that happens in a novel should have an impact on the character in the scene. Everything. Otherwise, it's just taking up space. It needs to have an impact on them emotionally. It needs to have an impact on the next action that they take. And that's basically it. That's how you plot a romance novel without really having a plot. Now, it does help to analyze a bunch of romance novels. And if you download my free highlighter method of learning to plot, you can see essentially a roadmap. It's just like having GPS for how to plot your book and how to bring the romance into it. Because when you take a book, a romance novel, and you highlight, here's the external plot, here's the internal plot, here's the conflict, here's the romance, and then you figure out what was the impact of that, you kind of know exactly what you need to write next without having to fill out charts and forms and all of these other things. Now, again, if you like doing those, go right ahead and do them. That's totally fine. But if you don't, if you're more of a writing from your gut kind of person who likes to have a little bit of a plan, then try highlighting 3 romance novels that are by debut authors, top tier authors, and middle of the list authors, because they're your competition, and see how they put these books together that you really love, and then apply that to your own book. And you will have this color-coded map for how to proceed. And if you continue to ask yourself, what was the impact? How can I show that on the page? You will create a book that is emotional and unforgettable, and most of all, unputdownable. And if you want more on creating female characters that really come across powerful and strong on the page, then watch this video right here. I also have a video about male characters, which is also right here. So check those out and let me know in the comments what you like best about writing the romance genre and why you like writing it so much.